Alright guys, so you'll never believe it. Today is the day I started making a video and I switched topics midstream. What I was actually going to do is I was going to show you all my snakes and go through all 52 ball pythons. I got about halfway through and I found a female with eggs, my very first female with my very first eggs of the year. So what I'm going to do in this video is I want to show you that ball python. We're going to take her eggs away from her. Hopefully we won't get bit. They can get pretty defensive when you're taking eggs away from the mama ball python. And what we're going to do is we're going to take those eggs and I want to set them up in my incubator. I'm going to show you how I make my egg boxes and put them in the incubator. Let's check that out. So actually I went through all my snakes and I got to this last, this one that had eggs. Let me show you that clip. It was really surprising when I got to her, and then we'll set up some egg boxes. All right guys, you are not going to believe this. As soon as I said that, I opened up this tub and here is my first eggs of the year. I can't even believe it. This is unbelievable. I can't even believe it. This is my 100% het caramel albino female. This is the biggest snake that I actually have in my entire collection. I was thinking that this girl might lay up to 15 eggs. I can't even believe it. I wasn't even expecting this. As a matter of fact, if I'd have known this girl laid eggs, this video would have been completely different. This would have been, yeah, my very first snake eggs of the year instead of my entire collection of ball pythons. So it's kind of a, I'm not even sure what to title this video now. This is going to be interesting because I'm going to set these ball python eggs up in the incubator. I can't even believe it. So what I'm going to do is, oh my goodness, my incubator is plugged in and it's warmed up and it's ready to go. Thank goodness I actually had that all ready and set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this tub back and I'm going to get a container to put these eggs in. I'm going to show you how I set up my ball python hatchling and ball python eggs in the incubator. Alright, so this is my equipment that I use to set up my egg boxes. It's kind of like cooking in the kitchen. And what I'm going to do actually this year is I'm going to use some disposable gloves. And last year I had quite a few eggs that got moldy or that had bacteria on them. They smelled really bad and I tried everything to clean them after the fact. So essentially what you do is you put the eggs in the egg box and then you put the egg box in the incubator for 2 months. And let me tell you, 2 months in a 90-degree incubator is a long time to keep eggs, you know, fresh and not going bad. I say I probably lost about 15 to 20, maybe even more than 20 eggs last year. It was quite a bit. So what I did this year is I went through and I bleached everything, soaked it all in bleach. I'm going to use gloves to make sure when I touch everything, nothing gets contaminated with bacteria or any mold or anything like that, and try to minimize all the exposure. As a matter of fact, some people will actually soak their ball python eggs in a bleach solution, and I'm not quite brave enough to get to that point yet. I think just, you know, trying to wear gloves and trying to bleach everything is pretty much what I want to do this year. So to start out, let me show you pretty much how I set this up. What I do is I will actually weigh everything out. So I actually use 200 grams of vermiculite and 200 grams of water, and it's perfect. It'll keep the humidity throughout the whole incubation process. And I have some vermiculite here. And let me see, I think it's, I use these deli cups. I think it holds, I think about 4 of these deli cups. Boy, I might almost run out of vermiculite. Getting pretty low here. So that is 184, so it holds just a little bit more than 3 cups. We're at 194. I try to get it as exact as possible. 198 and 199. 199.9, there you go, 200.0 grams. And then what I did is I mixed up some tap water here, and the tap water is set to 90 degrees. I actually have a little quick read thermometer. I set it to as close as you can to about 90, between 85 and 90. Of course, once it goes into the incubator, it's set at 90. This is perfect. It's 90 degrees. And from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zero this and then add 200 grams of water. And let me get my syringe. I have a big syringe that is a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier. Let me get that and let me show you how to do it. All right, so I have my big, it's a 60 ml syringe. Makes it really easy to add exactly 200 grams of water. And let's see, so we're up to 20, 30, 40, 50. It's about, I'd say it's probably about 1 gram per mil. So probably about almost 4 syringes. So we're up to 118 grams. 150, 60, 70. And then you get to the end. 180, 190, 197. And then see, you can just kind of tease in the last little bit. 199.6, 199.8, 199.9, 200.1. Close enough. And what I'm thinking is we'll probably need 2 egg boxes on this. So I'm going to do this in duplicate. So from here, what you really want to do is you want to mix this vermiculite up. And at first, when you first kind of mix it up, it doesn't really seem like it's that much water, and it's almost on the dry side. But what you really want is you want it to clump in your hand and form kind of a ball. And I've been pretty much doing this all last year. I tried a whole bunch of different, different mixtures and different enclosures for the eggs. And this is pretty much what I landed on. And towards the end of the season, it worked really well. And that's pretty much it. You just mix it together. And then what I do is I pack it down a little bit. That holds just enough moisture to keep it the perfect humidity for the whole 2 months of incubation. And then what I do is I put one of these, it's kind of like the grating on a light fixture. I actually bought these on eBay and they came cut to size, and I just cut the corners out so they fit in the box. And that's perfect. And then I just put the eggs right in there. Let me set up this other box just the same as this. I'm sure we'll get more than 6 eggs. I typically put 6 eggs per box. I'm sure we'll get more than that, so I'm going to set up a second box. All right, so I have my 2 egg boxes set up, and from here what I want to do is I'm actually going to replace my gloves one more time because I was kind of digging around the vermiculite, and I definitely want clean gloves when I'm handling those eggs. Definitely want to try to keep those eggs as sterile as possible. It's not a completely sterile environment, but I would say it's as sterile as, as we can manage with just what we have here. So I actually set up another tub so I can put the female in. What I want to do is I'm going to grab that tub and I'm going to move it over here. Wow. She has a ton of eggs. Woo, look at that. That is a whole bunch of eggs. They look like they're definitely just laid not too long ago. Look at how skinny she is. She's got like flaps of skin hanging off. So you could definitely tell she is keyed in on me, and she would definitely bite me if she had a chance. So what I want to do is kind of come around the back. Usually these snakes are pretty aggressive when you're taking them off. Oh, not too bad. The first thing you want to check on a ball python is that she doesn't have any more eggs in her. So what you want to do is just kind of feel all through her body to see if she has any more eggs. And it looks like she laid them all. Look at how skinny she is. Wow, right in here. That is incredible. She is so skinny. Ooh, she definitely laid them all. Ooh. All right, so we got mama off of the eggs, and it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 eggs, but 2 of them are slugs. So this one and this one, these are slugs. These are infertile eggs. These definitely will not hatch. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to separate these eggs, and depending on how long they've been laid, they separate easier or harder. And I'd say these look like they, let me see. Oh, they're pretty stuck together. So they've been laid for a little bit. Let's see if I can get them off the bottom here. And ideally what you'd want to do is have like a paper substrate on the bottom so they don't really stick as much. All right, they're coming up. All right, check out those eggs. Beautiful eggs. That is a whole bunch of eggs. Wonderful. And this girl actually crossed with my bamboo, so half of these should be bamboo, and half of them will be het for caramel albino. So we might get some caramel albino bamboos eventually down the road, which would be pretty awesome. So what I want to do from here is actually separate each egg individually, and sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. Oh, let me show you this here. So what I usually do is I just pull slightly on, kind of go back and forth and slowly pull one at a time. And these haven't been laid too long, so they separate pretty easy. So you just don't want to rip a hole in the egg. So from here, let me show you what I do with each individual egg. All right, so the next step is actually candling the eggs. And what I do to candle the eggs is I use a flashlight and then just kind of turn them around a little bit, and my camera does not like to focus on this. It's really struggling to focus here. Let's see. Alright, now it's a little bit better. So you can kind of tell right there it moves around, it kind of jiggles. Like right here on top, it's that little jiggly spot right here. And that is the embryo. And what you want to do is you want to mark it with a marker. And that is the mark that you want facing up. And the thing about this egg is it's kind of flat on the sides, and then it's going to be hard to kind of sit up like this, but you definitely want to find the top of and put the embryos on the top. The theory is that if the embryo is actually upside down on the bottom, that the embryo can actually drown. Alright, so that was the first egg, and I'm just going to go through these, and I want to show you how I separate these eggs. And it can be a little bit tricky. You just have to kind of pull them apart. Just kind of want to ease them back and forth until they come apart. And sometimes if they're laid for, I'd say these are probably laid today, probably about, I'd say about 6 or 7 hours ago. If you can catch them right away, they're really easy to pull apart. As a matter of fact, they get really almost like jello when you first take them apart. It's really weird. And boy, some of these, and some people will just incubate them like this, but the problem is if one egg goes bad in the whole bunch, then it kind of creeps over to the other ones. I like to keep them separate, and if I have a bad egg, I actually like to just toss that egg and get it out of the egg box, because those bad eggs, not only do they kind of affect your other good eggs, they can smell really bad. I don't even I don't even know where to start with some of these. These are really stuck together, and if I get to the point where I feel like I really can't separate them, I'll keep them together if I have to, but I prefer not to. I prefer to separate them if I can. But these are pretty tough. Some people actually use dental floss and kind of slide it in between. You can do that too. I haven't really had very good luck with the dental floss trick. Boy, these are pretty stuck together. And if you actually miss them for like, I'd say like 2 or 3 days, and you don't get to them, the problem is the eggs get pretty dirty, and they start getting dimples. You can definitely tell if they're in there for too long. And then they're really hard to separate too. So you just have to kind of move slow, get them apart. And then they say if you actually accidentally rip one, there's different ways you can, some people use like an Elmer glue to glue them together, or like a liquid bandage or something like that. And this is just kind of, personal preference. I'd say most people will incubate the whole bunch of eggs all together. But I've had some bad experiences with a whole bunch of eggs and then have a bad one right in the middle, and then you're kind of stuck. Let's see if I can get these apart. And then this one. These are like almost leathery. You definitely can't crack these eggs because they have like a leathery kind of a shell on them. They're kind of goopy, and you don't really want to move them that much because there's veins inside of them that are really delicate. So you don't really want to move them around that much. I say these are pretty tough to separate. They've been in there for quite a while. Oh. Oh. You definitely don't want to drop them either. All right. Making progress. Alright, last two, these are really stuck. There we go. Kind of weird. Alright, now I'm going to go through and candle these, and we'll see if you can actually see it. This one, you definitely can see it kind of jiggling around right here. So that is the embryo there. This one. And the older they get, the harder it is to see the embryo. You can see right here, it's got the circle. That is where you want the top. This one, you can kind of see it move around right here at the top. And see this one, the older they get, the harder it is to see. As a matter of fact, if they get too old, you won't be able to see this top at all. I'm getting pretty lucky. Getting the embryos on the top. If you kind of look at the bottom, there's really nothing on the bottom. So let's see, this one, it's right here. You can tell it kind of jiggles right there. That's how you know. And this one, right on top. This one. And then let's see, this one. And the last one. Oh, we've been getting lucky. All of them are on top. And then if you want to look at the slugs, that is what a slug looks like. There is nothing in a slug. It's definitely infertile. As a matter of fact, I've seen people eat these for breakfast, which would be kind of interesting. Snake eggs for breakfast. So from here, I'm going to set these up in my egg boxes. Alright, so this is pretty much how I arrange them. Some people actually use, you know, toothpicks to hold them in or something like that. What I like to do is kind of rest them towards the middle, kind of rest them on each other so they're slightly touching. If I have a bad one, what I'll do is I'll actually kind of pull it apart and separate it later in the incubation process. And I'll definitely keep them away from the sides because sometimes you get condensation around the sides. And then the next step here would be to use press and seal. And press and seal is the bomb for this. Let me tell you, I tried all kinds of different things. This stuff is kind of sticky on one side and it's not sticky on the other, and it makes a really nice airtight, it's actually a breathable kind of a plastic where it can breathe, but it doesn't let the moisture through. It's almost like, you know, it's almost like a Gore-Tex kind of material where, you know, it breathes, but it doesn't let the moisture through. It's really pretty incredible. And as a matter of fact, I had whole tubs full of hatchlings with this pressed tight on there for, you know, for days and days. The hatchlings, they have no problems at all breathing through this stuff, which is pretty amazing. And from here, what I do is I just rip off a piece and put her down. That's pretty much it. And it seals on there really well. And then after I seal it around the edges really well, I'll just put the lid right on. Just like that. And then I'll do this box. Good to go for 2 months. And then from here, what I do is I'll actually put labels on it, the date laid, the date expected of it's supposed to hatch, and then I'll put the pairing, what the male and the female was. All right, so from here, what I did is I labeled each one. This is actually my bamboo crossed with my het caramel number 2, and it's laid the 15th March of 19th. It should hatch the 14th of May 2019. All right, so this is my incubator. It's a 6-foot tall beverage cooler that I kind of custom made to turn it into a snake egg incubator. And I actually labeled them on the sides as well as the top, and this is pretty much my setup. I have a thermostat here with heat tape on the sides. I actually taped the probe right to the side. I have these cut. These are basically heat strips that I had cut by Reptile Basics. They cut them, they put the little connectors on, you just plug them right into the thermostat and it's good to go. These are my first eggs in the incubator. Pretty exciting. All right, so in about 2 months from today, pretty much exactly 2 months to the day, I'll have some brand new hatchlings. Half of them will be bamboos, which will be pretty cool. Get some more bamboo stuff coming out. and it'll be the beginning of the hatching season for ball pythons. Pretty exciting. This is my favorite year when I cut open the eggs. It's like Christmas every time. Sometimes you can get, you know, a whole clutch of bamboos. Sometimes you can get a whole clutch of normals, and the odds kind of play tricks on with your head. You're like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? And sometimes, like last year, you can hit some really good odds. I had some pretty unbelievable odds with my pairings last year and some of the hatchlings that came out. So thanks for watching, thanks for coming along, and I will see you next time.